Connected Canadians, connecting older adults with technology, training, and support.
What we're going to be trying to cover over the next 50 minutes or so, 45 minutes, and then leave some questions, is to enable you to understand what the benefits are of shopping and banking online. Some of you might do that already now. Maybe you do one, not the other. Maybe you want to be better at it. And the idea is that through this, I'll be showing some examples of websites and also trying to maybe do a couple exercises with you as we go through so you can see just how easy this can be. So the first section of what we're covering is going to be banking, what you can do and what might be the pros and cons of working with your financial institution online. And then it's important to remember that in the same way that you protect, you protect your wallet, your physical assets, let's say real world, although I feel like a lot of stuff that happens on computers, it's real world stuff too. But if you know what I mean, like there's a way that we're safe in our day-to-day physical lives, and there's ways that we can be safe online as well. But then once you've figured out where your money is or how you get at it online, some of the fun part is doing stuff with it. So online shopping is a pretty obvious way to do that. And there's some pros and some cons to that. We'll consider where you can do it, how you can maybe even become a better deal finder online. And sometimes that can mean not only finding the cheapest price on the product, but finding the best product for your money by reading reviews and understanding just what you're getting. Sometimes if things are being shipped to you, there might be shipping costs that you can understand online, and you want to stay safe when you're shopping just as much as when you're banking. So, well, I guess I spoke to this already because I'll admit I like doing this face-to-face. So you can see me when I introduce myself to you. But what you see here also is our website. If you've never heard of us before, or you want to learn more about us, you can go to our website, which is just connectedcanadians.org. And that phone number that you see right there, this is something that you can find on our website as well. But we often do, in addition to workshops, one-on-one sessions with volunteers who can help you with a problem. If you can't figure out how to get that Zoom call to work, your printer won't talk to your iPad, whatever that might be, we have people that can try to help you through some of those steps. Maybe you got a new phone and it's not as easy to use as your old phone. Well, we can help, or we hope we can help. And if nothing else, we can make you feel more confident about helping yourself. So that's where you can get a hold of us. Those types of sessions that I'm talking about, they're the kind of thing that you can book through that phone line, but the website also has a page that you can get to that way. And after you have one of these sessions, sometimes one session's enough, you might have one of our team members reach out to you to ask for feedback, or even maybe to set up a second session if you need more help with something. So we want to connect with you in the way that is comfortable for you, and then enable you, and then make sure you feel good about the whole thing afterwards. So it's ideally, and I live up to these ideals, and I know Nicole and Tanya does too, like the ideal is that you feel great through this whole process. So that's how the process works. And you're in one of our virtual workshops now. Hopefully you get through this feeling great on the other side too. If you want to try some of the other things that we offer, there's social gaming programs. We even do volunteers programs like with employers. So sometimes that could be a major national corporation that wants to let their employees give back. They give back through us, and we like that. So lots of stuff happening here. And there's lots of stuff happening at Bloom Finance too, but I am not the expert on that. Kevin is.
Great. Welcome, everybody. I hope you enjoy this. Bloom Finance Company is a Canadian company, and we're focused on releasing home equity for 55 plus Canadians. So that's in the mode of a reverse mortgage, which would allow seniors to stay in your home while unlocking the value and accessing some tax-free income. This income can be used for many different purposes like living inheritance, home repairs, home upgrades, vacations, and generally increasing the standard of life in retirement. Our goal is to make that process in securing the reverse mortgage as smooth, simple, and fast as possible for you. If you want to find out a little bit more about Bloom and our products, you can visit the website bloomfin.ca, or by all means, give us a call on that toll-free number. That'll connect you to one of our customer advocates who can fill you in on the products and answer any questions you might have.
Banking. What can you do? Well, if you have not already tried online banking, I assure you that you can do just about anything. I say just about because there are some things that still don't happen online completely. But if you think, I'm not old enough to remember this, but I know enough that when ATMs first came into existence, it was the sort of thing where like you needed almost like a punch card. You could only get out $25 increments at a time, usually once a weekend. Like it was a very rigid, limited way that an ATM worked. ATMs now allow you to do a whole bunch of stuff. And online banking is the same in that it grows in terms of what you can do quite regularly. So it's easy for you no matter who you bank with, no matter which of the big 5 banks in Canada. If you're with a credit union, anything will allow you to view your accounts online. You're able to check balances of accounts and even get statements. Let's say you missed or you accidentally threw out that statement from 4 months ago, but you need it now. Well, you can pull that up online. You're also able to see what transactions have occurred in real time, or if there's automatic payments that are coming out. And I find that useful because sometimes waiting for a statement at the end of every month doesn't give you, well, an up-to-date picture. And when you're banking online, you can't just, it's not just that you can look at these things, you can actively do things online too. So you're able to pay your bills. You can do that manually, or you can even set up automatic bill payments. So if you know that you want to pay maybe your phone bill every month, sometimes even if you have bills that are, well, they're more recurring payments like a charitable organization you give to, you could even set up like a recurring transfer that's almost like a donation. So that can allow you to send money to institutions, but it's not just institutions, it's people. Online banking lets you transfer money between your own accounts or even send money to someone else. And the way that the big 5 banks in Canada are currently structured, you're actually able, with most accounts, to send money to other private individuals for free. So if you want to send money to a family member, rather than writing a check and waiting for that to get to them, you can do what's called an e-transfer that sends money to them almost instantaneously. And just like in real life, there are sometimes errors that can occur. Sometimes errors can happen in online banking too. But you don't just have to go into a branch to talk to someone about something that goes wrong. You can even log disputes online and tell them when a transaction is incorrect. And if you think you can monitor in real time what's happening in your account, well, it's also useful that you can tell them when a transaction is incorrect in real time, rather than waiting for that statement to come at the end of the month. One of my favorite things that you can do online is deposit checks. And this is something that is done usually with your bank's mobile app. So you need to have like a tablet or a cell phone, or I should say smartphone, because flip phones won't exactly take a picture of a check. But if you have a smartphone and a banking app, you're often able to take a picture that deposits it without sending the physical paper check in. It does that by analyzing the transit number and the information that's on a check, and then turning it basically into, it turns it into a wire transfer thanks to the digital scanning technology. Now, if you prefer using checks still, you can order new ones online. And I can tell you from experience, the range of patterns and customization that exists online for those checks, it's a lot bigger than going to the branch. So if you like those personalized checks, there is a wealth of options for you.
I was just going to say, I think that the most exciting advancement in online banking really is the development of mobile apps and fairly sophisticated and secure mobile apps from all of the banks. They let you do pretty much anything that you would want to do in the bank from your phone. I guess the only part that's missing is one of the cons is that you're missing the human connection of being in the bank. But I'm super impressed with the security and usability of the mobile apps for smartphones and tablets.
Yeah, I agree completely. The only thing that I've seen that sort of sticks out to me as a feature that really only still happens in branch is currency orders. So if you're going on vacation and you need some pesos, that usually means you've got to head into a branch, but that's about it. And so you sometimes don't have that human connection, but as we saw over the last 2 years, sometimes you may not want to be around people. That could be because that for numerous reasons. It might just be because you don't want to go out in the daytime. You know, you had a long, tired day and you want to do your banking more in the evening. But some of the pros include not having to go outside, like when the weather's bad. Safety because of concerns that remain about COVID, and it's really fast. If you've ever waited in line, you know, you realize that, oh, the time I picked to go to the bank is right when the factory next door just gave out their paychecks and you have to wait for all of that. Sometimes you can spend a long time in line. Now, Kevin mentioned that apps are more like they're safe. They are quite safe. What does that mean? Well, there's some ways that you can stay safe online. And these practices, I'm just going to speak to each of these quickly. So what does it mean to have a strong password? How do you double check transactions? Ways you can keep your actual physical device safe, like, you know, putting a fingerprint scan on. Also, what does it mean to avoid public Wi-Fi? Well, we'll talk about that and briefly touch on phishing scams. And then if you've heard this buzzword lately, cryptocurrencies, people think of that online a lot. So anytime that you log into your bank account or any financial institution online, it's important to think of the safety that you yourself are responsible for. So the most common cause of security breaches is not actually, let's say, malicious hackers like you see in an action movie, some guy drinking an energy drink in a basement going clickety clack, like really fast, with 50 screens around him. That almost cartoon version of a hacker is usually not what you need to worry about. More often than not, it's people using the same username and password for every single website that you go to. And, you know, I wish I didn't have to say this out loud, but if you're looking for crochet patterns and you save up, you know, like an account on mycrochettoday.com and create your little account for a pattern, chances are they don't take security on their website as strongly as your bank does. That's just natural. But if somehow that information were to get out and you use the exact same password and name for your knitting patterns as you do your bank, that kind of risk can expose you to security concerns. So it's important to remember that using different usernames and passwords for each bank and even each card, and certainly like every kind of account, is really important. You can keep track of that in a few ways. One is to use a special program called a password manager. These are computer programs that are, well, named here. Trend Micro has one, NordPass, 1Password, LastPass. So these protect all of your other passwords behind one really, really strong one. Now, if you're still not feeling up to that kind of technological level of sophistication, it's actually a really good solution to just keep a notepad with your passwords. So you might not be able to remember 20 different usernames and passwords, but a pen and paper can really easily. And a notebook is easily accessible to you. Just remember that it's also accessible to anyone who's visiting your home. That could be a risk. So let's say if you are right now living in like a retirement community, perhaps, or you're visiting one, like, don't leave that out on the table. Same way I wouldn't say leave your wallet out on the table, but it's a great way to keep it safe. And sometimes low tech is good for a reason. You know, nobody's throwing out their notepads. I'm in an office right now and I write everything down on paper, even though I'm on a computer. So when you double check transactions, this is something like a feature you can turn on. I know I have this for my accounts with TD. I do a lot of my banking with them. And that comes directly through their app. So when I say their app, what I mean is that there are programs, reputable ones, that you can download directly from on an iPhone, like the App Store, or what's on Google Play for Android phones. Those apps are actually developed and maintained directly by the bank. So super secure, always kept up to date. As long as you're downloading it directly from those verified places, either the App Store or the Google Play Store, very reputable. And those are the things, like those are the programs that then give you these alerts on your phone that say, hey, right after you fill up your gas tank, you just spent, I don't know, like $283 at the gas station. That's what it feels like right now. But you'll get a little alert on your phone. And that can be good for me. I have automatic payments. So I subscribe to Netflix. Sometimes I forget that I pay for it, but my phone reminds me, let me tell you.
Yeah, that true story is a real true story. It's mine. It's from about 10, 15 years ago, where I did not have a Netflix account. And when I tried to sign up for the Netflix account, it told me that my credit card was already in use by someone. So it had obviously been scanned and scammed. And they had a few free months of Netflix at my expense. So there's two things that kind of work together now. Most of the major bank apps have alerts about spending, as Jesse mentioned. I know TD just released a little while ago TD My Spend, and that's real-time notification of spends. With Netflix in the 5-10 years ago, nobody scanned it that closely. So it wasn't until I was able to actually contact Netflix to get it sorted out. Now, I was able to not pay the bills, and Netflix gave me a credit, but that's something you don't really want to have to ever deal with. And those spending alerts certainly pay off in the long run.
When you get those alerts on your phone, these things, they'll show up, but in the same way that passwords are often only as safe as you make them. Like if your password is ABC123, I might consider changing that. And the passwords that you use on your actual phone are important to use too, because now you have to think that this is if you're doing financial stuff on it, that's personally sensitive information that you'd want to protect the same way as you'd want to keep your purse close to you. So you protect your phone or your tablet by using these password protection options, or in some cases, a screen lock that might be activated by the unique shape of your face or your fingerprint. And by doing that, you prevent strangers from being able to access your data. It's important to remember that you want to keep your devices up to date too. So software updates are often automatically prompted. You'll get a little alert saying, new security patch released, or please update to the latest version. Those updates improve security and often address new threats that still exist.
It's important to remember or to note that people like Microsoft or Apple or Google or whoever manufactures your phone will not ever send you an email to say, click this link to update your computer, click this link to update your tablet or your phone. They will always process it through the actual operating system of the device. So when you see click this link to update your device, that's an automatic alert for you that this could very well be a scam.
Yeah.
Just something to bear in mind.
One of the best rules of thumb when you're dealing with phone scammers is if anybody calls you and says they're from a bank or anything like that, don't take their call for face value. Call back the number that's right on the back of your debit card or credit card. If you get a call from the CRA, open up a phone book and call the CRA back. Don't just trust them. And similarly, with these apps, just like Kevin said, when you see that link, you don't trust the link, go directly to the source. So if it's TD, you go to td.com. If they're saying update the app, open up the app, not just click that link. Yeah, great points. The idea of public Wi-Fi is something that people often don't, well, it's taken for granted. Free Wi-Fi that's easy to connect to in something like a Tim Hortons or a McDonald's is there for just that. It's there for convenience. But the trade-off with that convenience is that it's often not super secure. And as this scenario presents, it's easy to imagine you going to Tim Hortons and somebody who doesn't have your best interest in mind sets up their own Wi-Fi network. I can do that on my phone. I can turn my phone into a wireless hotspot. And then I can name that Tim Hortons. And if you connect to it, then that signal is not going through the Tim Hortons network. It's going through mine. Everything that you send through that is available to a hacker. So it's something to always be aware of. I would say, like, I'm fine checking the mail or like checking the news, maybe my email when I'm on a public space, but I would not do anything. I wouldn't send any sensitive information or access financial information. So Barbara had a great question. How do you update software if you're not supposed to click? There are, in many programs on laptops and desktops, automatic updates enabled, or updates that are accessible by opening like the help menu in the program. So that's usually where you find an update option in the help tab. If you are on a mobile device, then updates are managed through the app stores of your respective device. So apps get updated through the App Store on iPhones, and they get updated through Google Play if you have an Android device. So usually updates are automatically enabled, but if they're not, it's going through those. So again, it's not clicking on a link, it's not using like the internet, it's using pathways that already exist on your own device. That's how you sort of make sure that you stay in the right lane and don't fall for the lures. You know, it's like tourist traps almost, like stay on the road. Now, those tourist traps are often pretty tempting, and they lure you down bad paths. That's actually like where the term phishing comes from. It's a portmanteau, so a mixture of two words, phony and phishing. So they present you something that's a lure that's actually fake, and they try to hook you, like you are the fish. Don't get caught. So banks won't ask for that information. And as you can like see here, just to hammer that home again, you want to actually make sure you go to the real website, not like what you see there on the very bottom. This one is a tricky one. That website, clbconline.com, looks a whole lot like CIBC Online, like if you're not paying close attention. I remember sometimes there used to be a website, cmm.com, that was like a phishing website for people that just accidentally typed in CNN because they wanted to get the news. So those kinds of things you got to be careful about. And that's an important part of just staying alert and staying safe when you're doing any kind of interaction online. Now, just to quickly say something about one of the biggest buzzwords you'll hear around over the last few years in tech circles, what are cryptocurrencies? So they're unregulated currencies that aren't associated with the banking industry in Canada or in any country in the world. So any currency prior to the existence of cryptocurrencies were managed and regulated by national sovereign states. So, you know, you've got British pounds, the EU using the euro, the US dollar, Canadian dollar, and those governments backed up the money that had their name on them. Cryptocurrencies don't. And so they are, through that deregulated way of being, seen by some people as an opportunity for investments, but they're an incredibly risky one because there's there's nothing behind them. It's sort of, a whole bunch of plates that are up in the air at one time. And as long as the system works, somebody's doing the juggling. But that risk is a really dicey one right now. And I would say that, as you especially are becoming less, or you're becoming more risk averse, the older you get, stick to typical conservative investing practices and don't put money into these really risky crypto investments because A, you may not be able to afford to lose it, and B, you can more fully lose it. So it's not like it'll just be devalued. It can kind of just sort of go poof. Like the value of gold goes up and down, but you still got the gold at the end. Cryptocurrency is it's out there just in the ether. Now, I mean, that's sort of some of the concerns and also tools and ideas that underpin online banking. But how do you spend that money? Well, trust me, there's lots of people out there making that really easy for you and often really fun for you, really satisfying for you. And I think that there's lots of good things behind online shopping. It's very true that there is more selection, especially if you're not in like a major urban center. The kind of inventory that you can get access to shopping online is unbelievable compared to like a smaller retailer. And with that greater selection and often greater volume, there's discounts. Products are usually cheaper online than buying them from a brick and mortar store. You can also place orders any time of day. If you like to shop at night, early in the morning, I don't know, maybe somewhere out there's like some 6 a.m. early morning riser shoppers. Well, you can do that online. Avoiding weather again is easily done, or avoiding bad weather. And if you're ever needing to buy something that is heavy or difficult to move, being able to purchase that and have delivery sort of built in is really useful. I mean, sure, you can get furniture delivered, but what about things like, bags of cat litter, where there wouldn't typically be a delivery service for that, but that can be really heavy and hard to move. It's also something that's really safe because there's limited amounts of contact. But sometimes you can't get to see the product you see. You can't get to see the product or try it on before you buy it. In some cases, there are shipping costs associated that you wouldn't have in an online store. And to be fair, not all stores offer online shopping.
And one thing to consider is that those that do, turnaround time on deliveries can be amazingly fast. I use Amazon as an example. You can place an order on Amazon right now and have it in your hands as early as tomorrow. On the other side, a smaller vendor online, you're still possibly looking at a week to deliver it. But nonetheless, it's a great convenience.
Where can you shop? For a lot of places, like large department stores, they have their own platform that exists. So you can go to walmart.ca and find everything that you can buy in a Walmart. homedepot.ca. There are some places that are in fact fully online, like Amazon. So that's an online retailer that doesn't really have brick and mortar stores, but has a massive online catalog. And just a couple things to note, and I'm going to show you a couple websites around sort of that give examples of what this online shopping experience will look like. And one of the things to flag here is that a lot of those bigger department stores, I'm thinking like Walmart, Amazon, the Best Buy is another one that we'll be looking at. Not only do they sell their own products, but they have people that partner with them. So they have third-party sellers. Think of imagine like a farmer's market or something like that, where different booths can get set up within that overall umbrella. It's like the digital equivalent to that, where people use Amazon's website and their overall platform, where true, Amazon sells lots of stuff, but other people can be what are called marketplace sellers. So what I'm going to do is show you Indigo.ca. That's going to be one of the specific examples that I think is really useful. And bookstores are one of those places that often have limited inventories, but I mean, there's millions of books out there in the world, but bookstores don't have that kind of space. And so we're going to look at some of the different parts of that website. But I'm also hoping that after I show you around a few of those tabs, that you can try yourselves. Like, think of a retailer that maybe is one of your favorite local stores. Maybe they've added an online shop. That's something that is actually enabled in large part by a Canadian company. So some people have gone the route of selling things like through Amazon in that marketplace setup. If you've ever heard the term Shopify, that's actually a really well-trusted e-commerce company. So they offer businesses the chance to basically build online storefronts for themselves, but using Shopify's tools, let's say. So it's a little different from Amazon, where they don't sell the things themselves. They power other people's websites that then allow them to sell things. So that said, because a lot of times it used to be that smaller retailers would be hard to get online and find their stuff online, Shopify actually enables that. And if you ever do find a website that doesn't seem like, oh, is this a legitimate online shopping experience? The Better Business Bureau is a great place to look for reviews of those people to see if they're legit. Here in front of me, I've gone ahead and I've opened indigo.ca. The website looks a little different right now because I already answered the questions, do you speak English or French, to bring this up. But I get on the Indigo website lots of information that already is really useful. So for one, I told it where I lived, and it told me what the hours are of the nearest location. Oh, sorry, I don't know. I thought I might have heard someone. So Indigo has a very simple interface that allows me to put in a book right here that I might, anything, I could search for something. They don't just sell books at Indigo, but they mostly do. And so you see here the basic layout of deals they have. If you're looking for sales, that's easily visible. Different products like how to not just buy books, but set a spring table. Plum Plus is their rewards program that you're able to sign up for online. And I have an example here next of a book that I searched for. I love this novel. It was great. So maybe if I thought I want to buy it again or buy it as a gift, I can purchase this. So I've looked for this here, but maybe I've never seen this book before and I wonder if it's any good. Well, look at this. Scrolling down the page, not only do I have information about the author, about the book, but below it, I even have customer reviews. So people who've read the book and give their thoughts on it. This is a common feature not only of Indigo and other book sites, but many retailers allow you to read reviews and yourself write reviews. I've also brought up an example here of the shipping policy. Since this is something that can be a concern when you're ordering stuff online, nobody likes getting hit with hidden fees. And right here, there's a very clear demonstration of what the policy is. So on eligible orders over $35 within Canada, shipping is free with Indigo. And then it's also easy for me to see, well, I wonder what eligible orders mean. There you go. See eligibility. Oh, free returns too for up to 30 days, but it's eligible. See eligibility. So I hope you can see that they're not trying to hide anything here. This is a very good example of an online retailer being transparent in what they do. I'm going to show just one other thing here before we get back to the slides. Someone said that when buying snowshoes on Amazon, they expected free delivery, but they decided on a pair ready to hit order and then noticed it was a third-party seller. And the shipping costs were more than the actual snowshoes. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that sometimes you got to watch for. And right here, Amazon is not always clear. Like, it's hard to detect whether something is being sold by Amazon or sold by someone else and fulfilled. I brought up the Best Buy website and I just searched video camera. But right here, I haven't even touched this yet. Look at this little box that appears. Does allow bestbuy.ca to access your location, ? That is something that I personally am comfortable with, but not everyone may be. And the reason why Best Buy asks you this is because it wants to be able to, well, A, tell me where the closest things are, but B, just understand me as a customer. So the way that I clicked yes on Indigo and it knew to give me the store hours for Fredericton, that would do the same thing here if I allowed it, but I don't need to. I can block that. And all that changes is there's no little thing that pops up saying nearest store hours. So that's something that you're asked to do, and you have full control over whether you share or don't share that information. So I just searched for video cameras here, and look, the GoPro Hero, this is a marketplace seller, whereas this one doesn't say that. So I know that this product, the Handycam, is sold directly by Amazon or by Best Buy. And this one right here is sold by a third party that uses the Best Buy platform. So hopefully that makes sense and doesn't make these terms sort of too unnerving. And I will admit that often Amazon's way of disclosing who is and isn't a third-party seller is a little harder to see. So it's always there, but sometimes it can be trickier to notice that. So it's just worth remembering that when you're shopping online. So that's a very common, anyone that has marketplace sellers should also have an option to exclude them. And sometimes that can be because you want to make sure you get the best shipping policy. If somebody's selling something themselves, they guarantee, those turnaround times. What Kevin said about some things taking a week. I've had marketplace sellers take a month to get me something. So it was cheap, but I had to wait for it longer. That's usually not the case for people or for companies' products that they themselves have in their own warehouse. And it's also true that those third-party people sometimes don't accept online coupons in the same way. If you get a gift certificate for somebody made from maybe Indigo, maybe it's only usable through the Indigo site themselves and not through a third-party seller. Something like that could happen, but there's lots of great discounts and coupons out there. You can sign up for them often by adding yourself to a mailing list. I like to then unsubscribe right away after. They'll say, 15% off your first order if you give us your email address. You say, sure, I'll do that once. And then you buy what you need and then immediately unsubscribe. Some people also like to search online for coupons. There's sites like redflagsdeal.ca that has some good stuff. And there's also add-ons that track coupons like Honey. This is a tool that's used by, or that is made by PayPal that allows you to automatically apply any coupon in its record to an order. So it's I would say it's the safest of any sort of coupon add-on because it's owned by a really reputable online finance company, which is PayPal. You can look and see the shipping there. So sometimes for things like a grocery retailer, there may be charges to have those groceries shipped to your house, like delivered, but there may also be scenarios like a curbside pickup. So you can do the shopping part online, so you don't really have to go into a store, but you can still drive and have them pick it up or meet you on the curb. So there's no cost to that, but you also don't really have to go inside the physical location. So that can affect whether there is shipping or not shipping, and whether that's an option or not an option is usually pretty clearly displayed on the websites of retailers. I will say that you saw that I was able to block my address when I went to the website of Best Buy. Sometimes that information that you have about yourself, you may want to give to a retailer, you may not. So most online shopping experiences allow you to create an account or check out as a guest. So if you create an account, like a personal profile, you can do this if you're a regular shopper. It stores your information, like your address, And this is usually how you can, collect loyalty points if you want. You want those PC optimum points. You want the Indigo Plum rewards. And so you shop online with your account. But if you're not a frequent user of a particular business, you might want to do a guest checkout because you don't want your information stored places. Often, you don't even just want to bother going through the process of signing up. So if it's a one-off purchase, checking out as a guest can be more convenient. And to be fair, there are often fewer potential cybersecurity concerns because your information doesn't continue to persist. They don't have records on their side of anything about you. So if you're especially concerned about security, why not just check out as a guest? So those are what those options do, and there are benefits and realities reflected in either of them. Just a few final things about staying safe while you do this shopping. I'll be speaking to these for just 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'll have a few minutes for questions at the end. So websites are usually governed by a privacy policy about the way that your information is stored. That's a simple thing you can search for. It's usually either at the bottom of the page or something in a search bar that you can search for. It tells you what data they collect and store on you and what they do with that. So if you're worried that maybe you might get more emails or have information sent on to other people about you, the privacy policy is what will tell you about that. And websites are legally required to have one easily accessible on them. If you start shopping a lot with a place, especially if you start, maybe there's an app or you create that account, you'll often get the option to set up multi-factor authentication, sometimes just called two-factor authentication. What this does is add another layer of protection beyond just a username. A factor is usually something you have, it's something you know, or something that you are, and it combines two of those things together. So if you know your password and you have your phone, they might send a text to your phone in addition to you needing to know that password. Sometimes you need to have something like a special app. So I had this on my phone called Microsoft Authenticator. And when I do things like log into my email from a new device, let's say I get a new computer, they say, oh, we've never seen anyone log into that account on that computer before. Let's make sure this is the real person. And I get a simple alert on my phone to confirm my identity. So these are all ways that you can increase your security and your confidence in doing things online by setting up that authentication. I, in general, avoid logging into commercial websites using my social media accounts. That is something that's often able. You go to, let's say, I don't know, Loblaws, and it says, or actually ordering pizza. This is a real place where they do it and make it easy. Say, oh, you can just log into pizzapizza.com with your Facebook account. Yeah. It may be convenient, but it also means that social media account, if that gets hacked, they access all of those connected accounts. And, I'll admit, I don't really want large corporations knowing exactly when I get real hungry for pizza. Some things are supposed to stay private, So that type of information can get shared. And by using that convenience, you do often expose more of your personal information in a way that we wouldn't recommend. So it's better to create those dedicated accounts with separate passwords rather than trying to treat, we mentioned password managers at the beginning. You don't want to treat Facebook like it's your password manager, just as a general rule of thumb. And, you also probably don't want to save your credit card information directly on websites. It's safer to enter this every time, and then you keep that with yourself. Because even though most large retailers are secure, they are often targeted by hackers because that's where people do use credit cards. And as safe as the website of, let's say Walmart is, their security is not going to be as robust as the bank itself or the Visa network itself. So just, put as much trust as you can in the most secure organizations. Sometimes it might be a good idea to even consider only using one credit card for online transactions and then a different one in person. That's a good thing. Even if you do use multiple credit cards in multiple places, a lot of them will offer a zero liability protection in case your card gets compromised within reason. If you notice something fishy is up and then you wait 6 months to contact the bank, but you noticed it, that sometimes will not always be a zero liability issue, but that's why you keep on top of your statements. And that's maybe why you get those alerts on your phone, because when caught early, like in Kevin's example, most retailers are pretty good about sort of reversing that. Now, if you do want to pay in a way that that keeps things secure, I'll just sort of end with this, that there are ways like PayPal, Google Pay, or Apple Pay that are third-party financial institutions, basically like Visa. So that it's not like the bank. So your bank uses Visa as a third-party credit transaction organization. Apple Pay and PayPal kind of work like that. They're like muscling in on Visa's territory, and they let you pay with your credit card without entering your credit card number. And that keeps it safe, especially because it's often contains lots of good security programs like multi-factor authentication. So I would encourage any of you, if you're uncertain about some of the websites that you might be shopping at, not because they're unsafe, but maybe because they're just tiny little mom and pops, using PayPal is a great way to make sure that things stay safe. And just here at the end, I believe anyone who asks for it, and I'm not certain if we're sending out these slides by default or if people ask, maybe Kevin can speak to that, but these are some really good tools. There's a free home internet security course by a company called KnowBe4 that gives a great primer that goes beyond just what we covered today for staying safe online. And if you're worried specifically about fraud when it comes to digital, not digital devices, to the digital world and how to keep your credit card information safe, the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada has really good resources available on canada.ca that are going to be linked to in this website. Any questions from anyone right now?
I have a computer that is connected to my modem by Ethernet. Is that safer to do financial stuff on than being connected through my own private Wi-Fi?
It is, but both of those are actually quite safe. This is the kind of thing where, if you were to give yourself a rating, like your own personal private Wi-Fi network is an A, and a wired connection is an A+. Like, they're both great. One is just by its nature better because there's no wireless signal being transmitted.
Okay.
In the case of the Ethernet, but your wireless one, if you've got a good password behind that, and that's what I'm hoping you do.
Yep.
Don't ever think, oh, I live in a rural area, nobody's going to jump on my Wi-Fi. It's not just about who's close to you, it's about who can pass by you and whether that signal's encrypted. But if you've got a good password, that's still a very safe option that I would trust to do online banking with. And okay. I say that I do that myself. I have a password protected Wi-Fi network at home, and I'm fine using that.
Okay, great.
And I don't understand how the Honey works. If I just download it onto my device, then does it automatically apply that when I'm shopping?
Yes. Thank you, Janice, because I didn't go and show you that. Honey is what is called a browser extension. So you use a web browser like Chrome or Safari to browse the internet. And that's a software program that, sort of does one thing. It's like the screen you look at. A browser extension is a little bit of software that you don't see working, but that runs in the background. And so you would not, there's no like Honey window that pops up on your screen that you've got to say, like, get out of my way. But it monitors where you are shopping, if you are, and is able to pull from a big sort of database of coupons and offers that currently exist in digital format, and it automatically knows to put those in. So sometimes you might see on a website something that says like apply promo code or use discount code here. if there are codes that exist that are applicable for the website that you're on, Honey knows and actively is searching for these and then can provide you with that. Does that make sense? So it's not its own
Yes.
program, it's running in parallel.
Thank you.
So a couple of questions that came up in the chat. I know Sarka had asked a question about whether tablets or phones or laptops or PCs are safer. That all of them are, you can consider safe, provided that you keep them updated and that you run a reputable piece of security software. So reputable meaning one of the major vendors like McAfee or Norton or Trend Micro. And certainly those are not the only three, but those are the three that come to mind quickly. And I would install that solution on every piece of hardware that I own. So if I have a laptop, it's on there. If I have a phone, it's on there. If it's on my tablet, and they all provide the options for being able to install it on multiple devices.
Mary just asked a great question. Should I accept cookies? Example, all cookies. And what is the purpose of cookies?
That is a great question.
I'll jump on that if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So cookies are little tiny pieces of software that vendors, website designers use to track your behaviors. If you're concerned about privacy, you can certainly refuse to accept cookies. One of the things that cookies do is give them your location. So Jesse used the example with Best Buy or Indigo that it told him which was the closest store to him. That's from a cookie or from an account. So you can certainly refuse to accept them. It takes away a little bit of the functionality of the website that you're visiting, but it certainly doesn't harm you at all. It's really your choice.
I lied when I said I was done sharing my screen because I'm going to show one last example. I've gone to the website, in this case of a publication, The Economist, and I haven't been there, so I haven't told it what to do with cookies yet. It says, here's how we use them. A lot of people will just click that accept mindlessly, but with a little anxiety in their hearts. But if you select manage, what you get are options. And this is true. I mean, this is a legally required thing to allow for different kinds of cookies. So a lot of times people are worried about the advertising ones. Sometimes you'll see, so functional in this case is like the bare minimum. I'm just going to turn that one on, leave the others off. So I don't want the marketing ones. I don't want advertising. And now I know that those functional ones or essential ones is sometimes what people will call it, are the only ones loaded here. And yeah, so now it doesn't know where I am. So I might get, I get global ads, you know, it's not local things. But that is a feature of all websites that ask you to allow cookies. There's always going to be a secondary option of like a breakdown of what to accept and not accept. So if there's particular things you don't feel comfortable with, you can manage those preferences and don't be intimidated by, you know, what that means. It's just, I want the base model. Do not give me bells and whistles. And there's a way to allow that.
We have one more question that I quickly like to address from Lori regarding emails from Canada Post or Amazon saying I have a parcel being delivered. Click here. How do you know if it's legit? So there's a kind of, first off, I would highly recommend that you take the Know Before Home Security course. It specifically addresses a lot of this, but there's kind of 3 or 4 criteria that I would use if I was looking at an email. If it's asking me to click there, if I hover my mouse over top of the link, it'll actually show you where the link is pointing. If it's not pointing to Canada Post or Amazon, that's a phishing email. If the email contains a sense of urgency, like you must do this within the next 2 hours, odds are it's a phishing email. Those are like the 2 biggest ones. Also, if you look at the email itself and the grammar is incorrect, big red flag. That, just delete it, ignore it, make it go away. Certainly, yeah, go visit the home course from knowbefore.com. They'll walk you through all of the legitimate or the correct ways to analyze an email like that.
Kevin, anything I should have said?
No, I think you covered everything we've talked about. I would encourage everybody to take that Know Before home security course. It's only about 20 minutes. It has lots of valuable information in it, and it is free.
Thank you for learning with me today.
Thank you all. Have a great day.